The birth of the modern Jewish state, Israel, is inseparable from two major historical events. First, the rise of the Zionist movement, and second, the genocide of Jews by Nazi Germany, the Holocaust. The success of the Zionist movement is widely celebrated in Israel, both officially and among the public. It is seen as the result of dedicated struggle, a source of national pride and collective glory. However, when it comes to the Holocaust, many Israelis were for a long time reluctant to speak, for it represented the deepest scar in their collective memory. People often avoided touching this wound, fearing the pain it might bring back. The Reparations Controversy, 1952. Yet, certain events forced Israelis to confront history and revisit those dark and terrifying years. In 1952, the government of the Federal Republic of Germany, West Germany, proposed negotiations with Israel regarding compensation for the suffering and property losses that Jews endured during World War II. After consideration, Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion's government agreed to enter negotiations. This decision provoked intense reactions within Israel. Many believed that negotiating with Germany and accepting reparations would mean reconciliation with the Germans, forgiveness of Nazi crimes, and a forgetting of the victims. Consequently, they vehemently opposed it. Led by opposition leader Menachem Begin, tens of thousands of people, including Holocaust survivors, staged massive demonstrations. Emotional crowds even stormed the Knesset, accusing Ben-Gurion's government of committing the most shameful act in 1,000 years of Jewish history. Fierce debates took place in Parliament. Ultimately, the ruling Labour government, in favor of reconciliation with Germany, narrowly prevailed, mainly on the grounds that the resettlement of new immigrants required significant funding. After negotiations, Israel and Germany reached a reparations agreement in September 1952. Germany agreed to pay Israel $820 million over 12 years as state compensation and $1.2 billion directly to approximately 1 million individual Nazi victims and their families. The capture of Adolf Eichmann. However, the event that truly tore open the wounds of the Jewish people was the trial of Adolf Eichmann from 1961 to 1962. Adolf Eichmann, who served as head of the Jewish Affairs Department of the Nazi Reich Security Main Office from 1939 to 1945, was one of the primary organizers and commanders of the Holocaust in Europe. He not only planned and coordinated the Wannsee Conference, which determined the final solution for the Jews, but also directly oversaw the deportation of Jews from across Europe to death camps. In 1944, after inspecting Auschwitz, Eichmann demanded an acceleration of the killings, increasing the daily execution rate from 10,000 to 12,000 people. This blood-stained executioner initially escaped justice after the war. Captured briefly by American forces at the war's end, he concealed his identity. In 1950, with the help of fellow Nazis, Eichmann fled to Argentina under the alias Ricardo Clement, living in Buenos Aires with his wife and 3 sons. Several years later, a Jewish organization dedicated to hunting escaped Nazi war criminals discovered his location and reported it to the Israeli government. On May 11, 1960, Mossad agents successfully abducted Eichmann from Argentina and brought him secretly to Israel. 12 days later, Prime Minister Ben-Gurion announced to the Knesset that Eichmann had been captured and would be tried under the Nazi and Nazi collaborators punishment law. The announcement immediately attracted global media attention, and reporters flocked to Jerusalem. The trial that changed a nation. For Ben-Gurion and other Israeli leaders, the trial of Eichmann carried not only the purpose of revenge or justice, but also significant political and educational value. They sought to use the trial to help the world understand the necessity of Israel's existence and garner greater international sympathy and support. They also aimed to educate Israeli citizens, especially the younger generation and Eastern Jews who had not experienced the Holocaust, so that they would understand that only with their own state could Jewish survival and security be guaranteed, thereby fostering national pride and patriotism. The trial began in April 1961 and lasted until August, spanning 4 months, becoming one of the most sensational events globally at the time. To serve educational and propaganda purposes, the court conducted a thorough investigation of Eichmann's role in orchestrating the murder of Jews and publicly presented the full details of the Holocaust. The investigation produced more than 3,000 pages of material, and over 100 survivors testified. To prevent emotional outbursts or assassination attempts, the trial was held in a large bulletproof glass enclosure with police protection. Eichmann's confessions and survivor testimonies transported observers back to the bloody, horrifying era, causing many to tremble or even faint from emotion. Previously, many Israeli youth born after the Holocaust had only fragmentary knowledge of the mass killings, as parents were reluctant to revisit the painful subject. The trial revealed detailed evidence for the first time, allowing them to fully comprehend Nazi atrocities and to grasp the sense of isolation and helplessness faced by Jews at the time. The younger generation also gained a deeper understanding of Jewish resistance efforts, such as the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Overall, the Eichmann trial had a profound psychological impact on Israelis, often described as a form of national therapy. Execution and legacy. In December 1961, the Jerusalem District Court sentenced Eichmann to death for crimes against humanity, crimes against the Jewish people, and war crimes. Eichmann appealed and petitioned the president for clemency, but all requests were denied. On May 31, 1962, he was executed by hanging, becoming the only person judicially executed by a civilian court in Israeli history. The following day, his body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered in the Mediterranean Sea outside Israeli territorial waters. Due to extensive media coverage, the trial attracted worldwide attention. Many nations and citizens expressed renewed sympathy for Jewish suffering and support for Israel. The trial also triggered a resurgence in Holocaust research and inspired continued efforts to apprehend escaped Nazi war criminals, leading to subsequent trials of many former Nazis in West Germany, Italy, and other countries. Nonetheless, some criticized Israel for using the Holocaust and the Eichmann trial for political purposes, arguing that law and politics should remain separate. Others feared that tying Israel too closely to the Holocaust could reinforce Jewish isolationism. A public opinion survey in the 1970s revealed that 87% of Israelis agreed that Jews cannot rely on non-Jews. Education and security doctrine. Despite these concerns, the Israeli government and civil organizations continued to use Holocaust history to remind citizens not to forget past suffering. Israeli Defense Forces recruits typically visit Mossad, the Western Wall, military cemeteries, and Holocaust memorials for education on hardship and vigilance. The guiding principle of this education is clear. When the Jewish people had no state, they were weak and vulnerable to massacre. The famous Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem vividly recreates Nazi persecution through extensive photographs, artifacts, and modern technology. At the entrance, a wall lists the names of victims, and the floor is inscribed with the names of all Nazi concentration camps. To commemorate the 1.5 million children murdered, a special Children's Memorial Hall reflects millions of candlelight lights and audibly recites each child's name, age, birthplace, and date of death, creating a profoundly moving experience. Outside, the Avenue of the Righteous honors non-Jews who saved Jews during the war, with each tree bearing a plaque detailing the rescuer and the number of lives saved. This system of trauma and crisis education has made Israelis highly sensitive to national and personal security, sometimes to a near-pathological degree. coupled with Israel's small territory and hostile neighbors. Israelis believe that even a single failure could threaten the state and leave Jews once again stateless and persecuted. Guided by this mindset, Israel often strikes first to neutralize potential threats, and in past wars, its soldiers have consistently fought with courage and resilience.